Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to share with you how to create a Google form to collect email addresses from the parents and then upload that to MailChimp to create a newsletter. So the first thing you need to do is create a Google form, and this just might be a simple Google form that says Mrs. Kelly's weekly newsletter. And we need to collect the first name. Make sure it's required so you do get the information, the last name, the email address, and let's do a permission thing too, just to make sure that we're collecting it rightfully and the parents know how that data is going to be used. So I might put something like, do you give your permission for your email address to be used for our weekly newsletter? And then I would change this to multiple choice and add a yes and no option. And one thing I would also suggest doing is checking your settings and make sure that multiple people can answer it. And then in presentation, make a note, something like, thank you for signing up for our newsletter. And then if you wish to add more members of your family, please click submit another response. And since this is checked, that will allow people to go in and add more parents or guardians to this newsletter. And then we will click save. Now, what you will need to do is then you'll need to share this form with the parents. And you can come up and you can send it in a couple of ways. You could, if you already have a bunch of the emails collected, which you probably wouldn't because you wouldn't be creating this form, you could send it via email. But most likely you'll want to share a link or embed it into your website. I would also encourage you that if you haven't had back to school night, this is a great time to collect those email addresses, and you could even have a station where you have a couple of devices out and parents could fill out the form there, and that way you can kind of catch them before they leave. Otherwise, if not, I also encourage maybe putting it on Google Classroom and making it an assignment for your students, and it's something they have to do with their parents when they go home within the first couple of weeks of school. So once your form is created, you'll start getting some responses. So I'm just going to go in, I'm just going to fill one response in as myself so you can see what it looks like in view mode. So as you can see, it does remind people that if there are more members of the family to add, they can click submit another response. And when we go back to our edit menu, I'll see there's responses now. Now, what's really great is once you collect all those responses, you don't need to put that into MailChimp one by one. Instead, we're going to open up this spreadsheet. We're going to click create a new spreadsheet. And then we're going to download it to our downloads folder as what is called a .csv file. That way we can import it into MailChimp. So I'll choose download as, and then come down to .csv, and it's going to download it to my computer. So I don't need to use that quite yet, but I will come back to that later. So now we're going to go over to MailChimp and make sure that you create an account if you do not already have an account, and log in. And the great thing with MailChimp is it is free. So it is a great program for you to use with very little cost. Now, when you come in here, you're going to go up to lists. And we're going to start importing our list. So you can see the list that I already have. This is one I was playing with when I was creating this blog post in this tutorial. But I'm going to come up to Create List, choose Create List. And I need to come up with a list name. So maybe it's Mrs. Kelly's class newsletter. And it's going to come from my email address and from my name, which is Megan Kelly. You also have to remember to just kind of write a reason why people signed up, like, thank you for signing up for our class newsletter. You do have to include some contact information, but nobody sees this, so I wouldn't worry about that. And then I tend to add in like a daily summary for myself just to see who has subscribed or unsubscribed, rather than getting it every single time someone does it. So I'm going to click Save. And you will see in the lists that it'll take you right into that list. And when you enter this list, you're going to choose Import Contacts, okay? And that's where we're going to choose our contacts from earlier. So there you have 3 options, and we're going to choose a CSV and go to Next. And we're going to upload a file. So I'm going to upload one that had a few more responses that I was using earlier. So you find your file, then click Next. And then several columns show up. So I don't need the one that's a timestamp. Oh, it looks like I only chose the one that had 1. So I'm going to skip that one. I do want the first name, save. I do want the last name, so I'll save that. I do want the email address, so I'll save that. And I don't care about having the permission, so I'll skip that one. Then I'll select Next. Everything is checked, so that means it's good. And I'll click Import. And when I do that, I can see, oh, my email address automatically added in. Now with one email address, I might just add it in manually by going up to Add Contacts and choosing Add a Subscriber. But most likely you will have more than one, and instead of doing this one by one, you can easily import this way. Now to create a campaign, you're going to go up to Campaigns and Create a Campaign and choose Email. And we're just going to choose regular email, and maybe that's Mrs. Kelly's class newsletter, and begin. And I'm not going to go through this entire process because MailChimp does a great job of walking you through, but a couple important things on here are the 2. So make sure to add recipients, which is your class newsletter that you just imported. Then save that. Who is it from? So that has your information, save that. And as you can see, what's great about MailChimp is it's telling you like, okay, good, you finished the section. Good, you finished the section. You need to do this one now, which is add subject, and maybe that's week 1 newsletter. And that's what the parents would see. Save that. And then you get to design your email, and that's the fun part. So you'll go in and you can choose all these different layouts or themes that they have. And then you can start putting in your information that you want to share with the parents on a weekly or monthly basis. Like I said, I'm not going to go through this entire part because MailChimp will lead you through it, but you'll just click Save and Close when it is done, and then you will be able to send it off. Now, one really great thing is that it does tell you if there's errors, so you can see I did not go through all the information. But you can also send a test email to yourself to make sure it looks right. So if something is not completed, it'll tell you, and then you can go in and resolve it. And it's going to tell me like I didn't finish it because I didn't go in and add new information and clean it up. But that is pretty much how you can create a newsletter. As you can see, it's actually a pretty easy process, but it is very helpful to be able to add those contacts in beforehand, and then you can go in and create your campaign and start sharing information about your class with the parents. So if you have any questions, please let me know and I would be happy to help. Bye.